Hello and welcome to Pro Tour Austin. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we are ready for the quarterfinals. We have got 4 spectacular matches. We're going to start out watching Brian Kibler against Evangelos Papatsarokis. Kibler has run the table on 2 consecutive Pro Tours. He went 8-0 on day 1 in Hawaii. He went 8-0 on day 1 here. Made the top 8 in Hawaii, but got knocked out in the quarters. Would like to avoid that fate here. And that's the man who controls his destiny, Evangelos Papatsarokis, who's playing a ridiculous combo deck.
So these guys met up in, I believe, the penultimate round of the Swiss.
Yeah, this is a rematch of round 15 where...
I got another turn.
And Brian Kibler had his sideboarded Meddling Mage ready for turn 2 on the play against Hypergenesis. And Evangelos went off on turn 1.
Yeah, Kibler is running a Zoo deck. We've been calling it Rubin Zoo because Hall of Famer Ben Rubin put the build together with multiple different innovations.
I've got another
Punishing Fire with Grove of the Burn Willows was really good. He's got a couple Nakados coming out. That's the plan for Zoo.
You're like disappointed that you only have like a Progenitus for me or something?
But yeah, Kibler knows that one Cascade spell, any Cascade spell in Evangelos' deck will turn up Hypergenesis.
And
there's the Spirit Guide. That's a 3rd mana. Like, that's all the Cascade spells cost 3. So, yeah, here comes, turns out it's Violent Outburst.
You don't have any creatures to get +1/+0, so I don't know why you cast that.
And now what's going to happen is he's going to reveal cards until he sees a spell with mana cost less than 3. The only thing in the deck is Hypergenesis. Doesn't have a casting cost. Yep. Used to be the only way you could resolve a Hypergenesis was to suspend it, let it tick down, and then eventually you'd get this Eureka effect.
There's a Boggart and Hellkite.
But yeah, what Hypergenesis does is it says, put any permanent cards from your hand into play that you want. So down comes Angel of Despair, down comes Boggart and Hellkite.
I'll put a Grove of the Burn Willows.
This combo deck was...
Brian puts 2 lands into play.
Yeah, does what he can. Now all the triggers will resolve, so Hellkite gets to deal 5 damage. Angel of Despair gets to blow up a permanent. Wow, this deck, when this deck works, it is sickening.
Yeah, it's very funny. When people were talking about this deck and theorizing about this deck as soon as the Cascade mechanic was introduced, everyone was trying to like hypothesize this like critical mass hand you had to have to just kill your opponent in one fell swoop.
Right.
But sometimes it's just enough to put a Progenitus into play on turn 2. Sometimes it's enough to play an Angel of Despair and a Boggart and Hellkite.
Yeah, I mean that's the...
Lightning Bolt. Punishing Fire. You gain 1.
Oh, well, he does manage to kill the Angel of Despair. Yeah, I've actually been surprised to watch Kibler play. He doesn't just roll over and die. He's got a little bit of game.
He felt he could have
won. Right, and now here 2 Nakados attack in. Does he have a Burn Willows?
He does have a Burn Willows, and he has a Punishing Fire. He has to take 6 here.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Hellkite could pick off a Nakado, but then it's going to die to Punishing Fire, so...
But is there another Cascade spell?
Thanks. Fire Spot. Oh, okay.
Ardent Plea. So that Hellkite's going to attack for 6 this turn.
Hilarious. What does the second Hypergenesis do?
I believe he has another card in his hand.
It's just whatever he top decked that turn?
Yeah.
Angel.
Yeah, if he top decked another monster, that's quite good.
I believe he has an Angel of Despair in his hand.
It just came off the top this turn,
I was going to win even after that. You had 2 things I could kill it. Kill 1.
But Evangelos is still at 10 against the burn deck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, there's Angel of Despair. Came off the top, so...
To kill the Grove of the Burn Willows. Or he has to kill a wild Nakado here.
Yeah, I think he has to kill Nakado, right?
He's going to lose his Evangel to the other wild Nakado in combat. But attack for 6.
Yeah.
Brian goes to 5.
Oh. Yep.
It really becomes a question of what burn is Brian holding.
I'll try Punishing Fire. You go to 11.
Brings back Burn Will. Brings back Punishing Fire.
With Grove of the Burn Willows. What a just amazingly elegant combo that is. And they were the only team that seemed to have found that.
I didn't see anybody else playing it. I mean, it was essentially the Michigan crew, I guess, for lack of a better word. Herberholz, Nassif, Chapin, Rubin, Kibler.
Tell the worst ever.
Dave Williams was playtesting with that group. I mean, there's a lot of Magic talent there, and they found this just amazing combo. A number of them built a control deck around that engine. I mean, that was the deck that Nassif and Chapin and Williams played.
It was sort of a gifts ungiven deck with a
Yeah,
Light from the Loam package and a Punishing Fire Grove of the Burnwillows package.
And then Ruben put it into this Zoo variant here, which may be closer to Big Naya than Zoo.
So Evangelos chooses not to block. He's going to go to 8. He gained a life off of the Grove of the Burnwillows. He says if you have 8 points of burn, just let's see it.
Yeah, but he wants 2 different 5-power flyers to attack with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He points at his flyers.
They tap.
Yeah.
I will.
Is Kibler not dead here?
No, he can kill one of them. He Lightning Helixes it, gains 3.
Oh, Lightning Helix.
Gains 3, and then finishes it off with Punishing Fire.
Yep. That'll do.
Game 1.
Is Kibler actually going to win this
Brian
race?
goes to 3.
Certainly Baneslayer off the top would be amazing, right?
Right. Baneslayer's protection from Dragon's ability is actually incredibly relevant in this matchup.
I mean, First Strike is good enough, right?
That's fine. I'm still going to sack that. I'm going to. 7 right now. I can't take 2. Yeah. So
Kibler plays Path too, right?
I got my land. I'm going to take 2. Look at that.
All right, well, on another table, Dark Depths has done its thing for Paulo Vitor da Monterosa.
Yeah.
Mulliganed into his combo.
1 then 5.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't even know if you have 1.
Okay. No. I'm at 2.
Brian, looks like Brian cracked an Arid Mesa there.
Yeah, but 2.
All right.
Yeah.
At least.
Kibler winds up at 2.
I'm at 1.
Meanwhile, Martin Yuza had to mulligan to 4 against Naomi Shimizu, and Shimizu has taken game 1 of that match. So Paulo up a game, Shimizu up a game. Kibler, like Baneslayer off the top,
You have 3 grabs.
That would be beautiful.
Path off the top, Path to Exile off the top. Basically one 5-power dragon, and Kibler's at 1.
Kibler's at 1.
Van is at 9.
Well, if you draw the land.
Doesn't look like it's a dead draw.
I didn't see what it was.
Thank you.
Kibler certainly going through the motions. Why is the token not attacking?
Oh, I have this guy.
Isn't that a 1-1?
Brutal.
Still not enough.
Oh.
No. Kibler. All right. Van has taken game 1. Hypergenesis went off on turn 2. And Kibler made a run at it. He killed 2 different Angels of Despair. But he needed a third answer. There were 3 fatties. Vangelos had to go off the second time.
Yeah.
You know?
And not only had to go off a second time, but had to top deck.
Right. He had to top deck a creature
to go off a
well,
second
you
time.
don't go off the second. I mean, everything you have
Yeah.
comes down the first time, right?
Interestingly,
Looking so good.
so
Actually,
Brian said that the first game of this match is terrible.
Yeah, he has very little answer. He can't really disrupt the Cascade and Hypergenesis combo from going off. His whole game is to try to race, so hopefully it's not till turn 3.
Oh, come on. How many cards are in your deck?
He can bring in Vincers to counter Brian's spells for a critical turn.
Right.
He can bring in the Meddling Mages himself. He showed us Putrefy in his match with Kibler the first time around.
Yes, Putrefy. He's got Fire Spouts, too.
So he putrefied a Baneslayer Angel that had come down and was threatening
Yeah, it
to
was
make
really
things
interesting.
sticky.
The sideboarded games these guys played in round 15, Kibler actually won the first game there. But in both sideboarded games, Vangelos went off, And Kibler had the ability to win those games if he'd made all the right plays. Some of them were pretty subtle, some of them were judgment calls, but he felt pretty bad after that match. Like, once he got done talking to the crowd and sort of going back over the turns, he felt like he should have won both of those sideboarded games.
In one game, he should have put a Blood Moon in play off
Right,
Hypergenesis.
Right. While Hypergenesis was resolving, if he had thrown his Blood Moon onto the table, it would have taken Putrefy. It would have made Putrefy impossible, and Kibler could actually have won that race with
Right,
Baneslayer.
he gets the match out of reach.
Like, he had the top deck Exalted guys to actually, but like the way the game played out, if he had thrown that Blood Moon down, Van would not have been able to Putrefy Baneslayer. Kibler would have run the race. And then in the third game, he had. Or was that
I got back
the third game was the one where was the turn 1 Hypergenesis versus Meddling Mage?
Game two is actually turn one
Hypergenesis,
Hypergenesis, and game 3 was the Blood Moon match.
Right.
Although I got
Blood Moon for the
half
win.
an hour of sleep before day
But
one.
the other match where Blood Moon could have won in one of those games, and in the other one it was just sort of he can actually sometimes, if Hypergenesis takes a couple turns to come down, Knight of Reliquary gets big enough, he can just attack and put in enough pressure to sort of force blocks that are trades.
The weird thing is, like, when
And we saw that there. Right? Kibler was able to kill 2 5/5 flyers.
And he couldn't even afford to block a
I was
Wild
never playing
Nicole.
against losing
With
decks.
his
Every
5/5.
deck I played against was.
It's interesting that that's not really going to come up after sideboarding, though, because Kibler takes essentially all of the burn out of his deck.
He takes the punishing fires out. I think he has to leave. He said he was joking that he has to leave the helixes in or leave some burn in to deal with the Morph-Necroma.
No, I think he's down to a couple of bolts. He takes out 12, like you said, 11 or 12 cards.
Right.
He's taking out Tarmogoyf, interestingly
Right,
enough.
because he said I have no card types in my graveyard.
Yeah, it attacks
Game
for
two.
0 to 1. Maybe there's a fetch land in the graveyard, but that's about it. So
He said if there's a sorcery in a graveyard, it means I'm losing.
Right.
Because it's going to be a Hypergenesis.
So Tarmogoyf actually just heads out, takes out Tarmogoyf, takes out some burn, brings in the Meddling Mage package, brings in the Blood Moons, and I think he's actually bringing in a couple Ancient Grudges. Since Van has Sundering Titan, like between Path to Exile and Ancient Grudge, if he could just remove 1 or 2 fatties, that's often enough for him to win despite Hypergenesis resolving.
Basically shuffles everything in except the Kataki's War Wage.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's 14 of his cards are actually relevant here, huh?
Yeah, I think for sure. And one of the things also Evangelist does is he toys with his monster mix. So I think the Chroma Angel of Fury comes in here just because it's path proof.
Sure.
He wants an additional path proof creature.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we saw Chroma was the difference for Evangelist in one of those games.
So Van is up 1-0 here versus Kibler. We've got Paulo Vitor Damarosa up a game on Tsuyoshi Ikeda. Shimizu up a game on Martin Yuza, and I'm pretty sure Watanabe and Burton are still in game 1.
So we haven't really made our picks for this tournament yet.
Yeah, we had a conversation in the wrap last night, but
Yeah, links.
you've had a chance to study the deck list now. You've had a chance to sleep on it. What do you think? What's the story here?
So looking through the brackets, I like Paulo over Ikeda.
I certainly like him now that he's up a game. I mean, that matchup looks pretty even. I do think that it's a bit of a bad beat for Paulo in that he ran into the Zoo deck that's packing Spectral's Possession specifically in order to beat Dark Depths and block Avatar tokens.
Not only packing Spectral Possession, but sideboarding Otherworldly Journey, which is a deep reach into Tsuyoshi Fujita's bag of tricks.
Oh,
It's like,
nice.
how can I find an answer to this indestructible card? And Otherworldly Journey blinks
exile.
it out of existence, and it never comes back. Back to the depths from whence it came.
Nice.
Tsuyoshi
Fujita is so good.
Yeah, and what's key about that card also is because Path to Exile should be fine, but the Dark Depths decks, either main deck or sideboard Chalice for 1 for protection against Path.
Oh, and Otherworldly Journey
costs 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's really good tech.
yeah, it's a really interesting card in this matchup. Both interestingly, and this happens a lot when you don't have an American player in the matchup, both players feel that they're a 45-55 underdog.
Yes. No confident American to say, I'm going to win. They're both like, I think my opponent's advantage. Paulo had the most interesting take to me. He said he thought he was a slight dog, but not nearly as big a dog as, say, Jamie Park at Worlds against Paulo. And Jamie won that match, so Paulo feels like fate owes him one, I think. So Paulo up a game now, so you got to like his chances now that he's up a game. Pretty even matchup for my read, and that's the Dark Depths combo against the Zoo that's loaded that way. Zoo also does have Mighty Reliquary to go get the one Ghost Quarter that comes in out of the board, so Acade has definitely got game.
Red decks that just go like...
Yeah. Well, that was
big guy.
Oh, sounds like Hunter Burton has taken a game.
Was like preparing for this tournament was a Blood Moon deck because Blood Moon
Watanabe got almost all the way through his graveyard thanks to Dredge, but Hunter and his Molten Zoo deck were able to win that one.
I was like, okay, can we build a deck that's good that can also incidentally use Blood Moon? And well, found it.
I do not have the earbud in.
You can blame BI, not me.
Who?
Ben Rubin.
All right.
Although the Blood Moon thing was a collaboration, but
All right,
he's the one who
so
found it,
Kibler's still shuffling up.
Okay.
I just get to
No problem.
reap the spoils of
Who do you like?
his hard work.
Who do you like between Shimizu and Yuza?
I bought him dinner.
I like Juza. I like Juza, even with Shimizu up a game.
Dredge has got an interesting spot in this metagame because it seems like it's this really powerful
Sort of
deck,
funny, like when I
but
played before, I was
so much of the
every
buzz
game
coming
was
into
like,
this weekend was about Hypergenesis
builder. Now
and
it's
even
made
more about Dark
prototyping
Depths
other people's
that
decks
there just
for
wasn't as
exchange.
much graveyard hate as there otherwise might have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Maybe they
you
were
could
better
easily
than me
imagine
all
that people had showed up loaded with ley lines and
I will
Tormod's
shock them
Crypts and Ravenous Traps, and there's a lot of available graveyard hate. If you want to beat Dredge, you can.
It's not gonna work.
It's just a question of how much do I think I'm going to run into and how much of my sideboard space can I actually afford to devote to it. And there was not a whole lot of
get the
sideboard
turn
space
one.
devoted to it, but yet it did wind up being the second most played archetype, trailing only Zoo.
And to Martin Juza's credit, he
Yeah.
has 3 sideboard cards for Dredge.
It's true.
He has a nice little Dredge package that he can sort of, with varying casting costs.
It's only 3, though.
It's only 3.
He does have
only
3,
putting
but
pretty
he
much
only
the
has
play.
3.
He has a Tormod
That
script.
week.
He has a Ravenous Trap, which is
Okay.
almost indefensible
Yours is the
Yeah.
yours is the only
for
Virginia deck that I've seen with Virginia.
Shimizu to play around.
Right.
And he has a Yixla Jailer.
Yeah. It's a good package. It's just, he'd feel better if he had 6 cards.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Right, he would like to have 4 Leyline of the Voids that he could
Well, the
mull
thing is,
against.
people were packing 5 and 6 cards against Dark Depths, and there was more Dredge in the field than there was Dark Depths, as it turns out.
I mean, and interestingly, the deck that seems most prepared for Dredge
You know, Cryptic Command
It's
is
the
the
Dredge deck.
Is the Dredge deck.
Well,
which
of course,
has 4
yeah.
Ley-
No,
4
it-
Leyline of the Voids.
We watched a double leyline match between
you lose all your land, it's not
Shimizu
even
and
it's a little
Watanabe
harder.
when they met in the Swiss. So.
So I like Juza here. I like the sort of the experience, the sideboard package, the preparation.
At best, they remove a dragon who's already taken 5 points.
In an upset, I think Hunter Burton is going to
Game 2, we're
get
both
past
mulliganing.
Yuya Watanabe.
That's a bold claim.
Yeah.
Watanabe is leading the Player of the Year
Yeah, it was-
race right
it was-
now.
it was sort of-
He
it
has
was sort
been
of
on a
ironic. I drew my
torrid
pass
streak
for
of late,
Fernando
top
to,
8ing 3 consecutive Grand Prix
it's
coming
not
into this
ironic at all.
weekend.
It's just unfortunate.
So 4 consecutive Premier Event top 8s in a row now.
I don't-
Just an outstanding run. He's got people talking,
Oh, yeah,
whispering
absolutely.
about the way
Good, yeah.
Kai Buddha rattled off 3 straight Grand Prix wins
If I played
to
Kai, I
get
would've won.
into the Player of the Year race, then shows up in his first Pro Tour top 8 was the Worlds that he won in '99, which gave him the first of several Player of the Year titles.
I'm not going to wager the consumption of a hat here. But until Hunter Burton shows me that he can lose an extended match with this deck, and he has not lost one yet this tournament. He is 9-0-1 with his version of Zoo.
Yeah.
Till he shows me that he can lose one, I'm not going
Not going to bet against him.
to bet against it there.
You won't get the chance to bet against him after he loses one, by the way. He'll be eliminated
Well,
from the
I drew
tournament.
him
True.
with,
It's
two
true. You've caught me in a clever logic trap.
Arthas, whatever. It's like, doesn't matter.
what
I
I'm
only
here
need
for.
1%.
And then who do you like in this match? Brian Kibler and
See what we can do.
Evangelos Papasarosis.
Yeah, I think this is playing out kind of the way they expected. Kibler is not in a great shape in game 1 because he can't disrupt or really react. I mean, he made a run at it. But after sideboarding, I think Kibler is actually advantaged in each individual game. But now, is that enough to make up for the 1-0 hole? They do play 5.
So in the next 4 games, can Brian not stumble and can Van not go off on turn 1 and turn 2
Right.
ahead of Brian's opportunity to disrupt him?
Kibler's mulliganing to 5 here, which sounds bad, but it's actually part of his plan. Like he sideboards in an extra land because he wants to be able to mulligan and still feel confident that he's going to hit his land drops. So, I mean, he kind of went into this saying, I want to mulligan a lot. In particular, the card that he's looking for is Blood Moon. If he resolves Blood Moon, it's over. Like, there's no answer anywhere in Van's deck for Blood Moon. He can't get
don't
Blood
even know
Moon
what
off
my
the
next main
table,
fire
and he can't cast much
I'll
of
sack
anything
them
after
together.
Blood Moon hits the
The
table.
only way he can get a Blood Moon off the table is to float mana
I could bluff and just say keep.
And
in response to a Blood Moon being played and putrefy it.
oh,
Right?
Sure.
Putrefy.
You're a sharp one.
Actually, I don't. I'm not even. No, actually, I don't. That putrefy is artifacts. No,
Yeah,
that doesn't even
no,
work.
right.
It's creature artifact.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I always. You call it
The
the,
white
instant
one.
vindicate.
right.
So
No,
he
there's
doesn't have.
nothing-
He doesn't have a single
Batteries
answer.
There's absolutely
Really
nothing you can do about Blood
need
Moon.
to
So
get
that's the card Kibble
real
wants.
fast.
It does cost 3, though. I mean, Van's
for
real
two
answer
metal, you
is
get two
I have to go off
sometimes,
first.
Right, and Kibler can
He can-
accelerate into it with a
Noble Hierarch.
With a noble hierarch. Unclear if he left those in, but I assume he
He
would
did. He
for
did.
the Blood Moon plan.
I mean, they're great for accelerating. They're also they're relevant Baneslayer attacks.
Right, absolutely. The
Like
6 points
Exalted
of life.
kicks in. Exalted is definitely
Yeah,
of some value, and the acceleration is a lot of value, especially since he's going to be mulliganing so aggressively. All right, where are we?
So, is that a Gemstone Cavern?
It is a